meeting of the Nantucket Memorial Airport Commission. This meeting is being recorded. First, are there any comments on the agenda?
No comments.
If not, I will assume that take it that it is approved. The minutes of February 14th, 2012, any comments, corrections?
No comment.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. The minutes of February 24th, 2012. All
No
in
comment.
Any comment?
No comment.
Correction? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Electric Vehicle Charging Station Memorandum of Understanding. You'll recall that Mr. Ridley was with us last time, and we agreed to table the matter until we were presented with an MOU, which he did very efficiently. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the warrant. Did I? Did I do the
You did
warrant?
forget the warrant, I was gonna.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, before we do that. Are there any comments or questions on the warrant?
I just have a question. Is this going to be included in the packet every month going forward?
Yes.
Is it necessary?
I think it is. I think people should be seeing what we're, I mean, that's
Okay.
my personal, I asked for
Okay.
it.
It just seems like a lot of paper, that's all.
It is a lot of paper. Well, hopefully, eventually we'll get on iPads and it'll be electronic, but I just think that we should see it, and then the public should see what bills we're paying.
Okay, perfect.
Anybody?
No, I
else have
agree
any
No,
completely.
that's fine. I just was wondering. what-
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering why, but thank you.
Are there any correct comments? Further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Moved and seconded and
Yeah.
carried unanimously. All right, we have a memorandum of understanding. There were a few modest changes to it as it was presented. I think my comment is in blue. I had a couple of other minor nits which have been taken care of. One other, the exterior wall on the front page, the bottom 1A, 7. We asked, it didn't say when we'd get the data, so they've agreed to give it to us quarterly. And I think that's it. Have you all had a chance to read it? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, it looks clean.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Ridley, that you'd like to?
In case you have any questions.
Does anybody else have any further questions for Mr. Ridley? All right, then, shall we?
Make a motion
Thank you.
to approve, to accept, to endorse the memorandum of understanding between the town of Nantucket, and between the airport and, I guess it's between the town and the airport, as prepared.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further comment, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous, thank you. Do you have a clean copy, Janine, that we can sign?
I do.
Well, we
Want to
don't,
do that now or later?
I guess we can do it later, because you don't need to take it with you, do you, Mr. Ridley? You trust us? or-
No, you'll be giving it to Andrew anyway.
Okay, all right. Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to get into the search process discussion. And I think I'm going to call, if everybody's agreeable, I'm going to call Mr. Coltman. Good. Was waiting to hear from us.
As big as I can make it, David.
Kind of blurred, too.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
Oops.
That's better.
Hey, this is Doug.
Hey Doug, it's Dan Drake.
Hello, Dan, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. We have the commission here, Bill McGrath and others are here, and I think everybody's seen my discussion paper, and why don't you sort of give us your thoughts, and we can use that as a jumping off point for further discussion.
And I'm assuming we're in public session now?
We are in public session, yes.
Okay, great. Hang on one second. Yeah, oh, Anil just got on the phone. This is my partner, Anil.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Howdy.
Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you fine. If we have a problem with any of the questions, I'll have to ask you to repeat it, that's all.
Okay.
Basically, I took the notes from Dan and have translated that and added a little bit to it as a way of perhaps consolidating this process and making it more compact. And what I've done is on that same weekend that we had proposed for the assessment center, which is the weekend that's starting Saturday the 14th of April. The candidates, before candidates that would be invited to come in to Nantucket, and spouses would be invited if they so choose to bring their spouse. On Sunday, we would have 4 separate airport tours. The reason for that is, even though everybody knows everybody, the airport guys like to talk directly to, in this case, Bill. Hopefully Bill will be around to provide the airport tour. What's the board like? What are the issues at the airport? And they don't like to be running with their compadres asking those questions. It's kind of getting a leg up, perhaps, on the process. But individual airport tours, rough schedule would be that they would be starting at 8:30 in the morning, last an hour each, 15-minute break. So at 8:30, 9:30, 9:45 to 10:45 would be the second, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock would be the third. At 1 o'clock we would have a joint community tour. Now, in this plan, everyone's going to get to know everybody because the interviews certainly will be in public. So we would expose their competition before they came to Nantucket, so everybody would know at least the names of their competitors in the process. And then at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon for a couple of hours, there's a lady, I think you said, Dan, that's got a...
Other people may have other ideas, but I have one.
Other ideas. What we want to do is have a community tour, and it would be nice to have that as a joint community tour, everybody together in a bus.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
Doesn't have to be that,
They could
yeah.
be done individually.
But we're going to have a little bit of a time shortage here. But we want to do a community tour in the afternoon, and then we'd have one more airport tour after that, so 3:30 to 4:30, again in this proposed schedule. And then about 5:30 or so somewhere to have a meet and greet with the candidates, the commission, local officials would be invited at the request of the commission to join. It's a very casual affair. There's no speeches unless the chairman wants to speak, just to welcome everybody. And it's just a way to casually get to know the candidates and if their spouses are with them. 5:30 to 7 type of deal. We'd have hors d'oeuvres. And Sunday is now over. And then
Saturday's over.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You said Sunday, but it's Saturday.
Well, if you're going to move it up another day,
No, we're talking about, you and I talked about moving it to Saturday from Sunday for that.
yeah, well, that's a possibility. That would be your choice to do that. Let's just call it day 1, the people come in.
Right.
Excuse me. Day 2 is the community tours and the meet and greet. Day 3 is the assessment center. And that assessment center would have, would basically start with the assessors about 8 o'clock in the morning. They would be debriefed by us as to what their role is. And the first assessment exercises would start at 9:30. Excuse me, so for coughing. There would be 3 exercises that day. One would be a presentation that they would know in advance, and they would come prepared to make a presentation to the commission, a mock commission. One would be a one-on-one exercise, a simulated exercise. It would be an issue regarding personnel. And the third item would be an inbox exercise. Basically, that's when you come on a new job, a lot of things have been piling up from grants to personnel issues to a problem with the town to budgets to you name it. And we would be asking them to take that inbox and sort it out and provide a priority of what needs to be done, when, how, and who. That would be an inbox that would be done on site. And then that basically exercises take all day on that third day. It will be done about 3:30 in the afternoon. And then the board would convene at 4 o'clock to get a debrief from the assessors on the assessment center. And then the last day would be, we would do 4 interviews with the candidates that are there, starting at 8:30 in the morning, and be wrapping up about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe at 3:30. I haven't got that time schedule worked out yet. And then the board would sit and discuss the 4 candidates. They've got all the tools in the toolbox now that is possible to have, and hopefully the commission will come to a discussion and a final selection of a candidate. And that's the 3-day process, and that could start on a Friday for them to come into town with tours on Saturday, the assessment center on Sunday, and then interviews on Monday, or come into town on Saturday, and you would end up having the assessment center on Monday and the interviews on Tuesday. And then if the last thing is that the commission decides they've got a couple people that they just can't decide between, then we've got that other date still reserved on the calendar to bring those 2 individuals back for a second round of interviews. That, in a nutshell, is I think, our deciphering of the information that Dan gave us, and I think it helps to get everything back into a more compact scenario. I didn't know there was an event called Patriot Day on Monday, so I think that's an issue that Dan wanted to talk about as well.
All right, let's, thank you, Doug. It's very helpful, very clear, I think. Any other comments or questions, Sheila?
I just have one. The day 1 with the 1-hour tours, I don't think 15 minutes between the candidates is enough time. I think it should be, if you do them at 9 to 10, then the next one would start at 10:30. I think there should be a half hour between the 2 instead of 15 minutes in case they go overtime or Bill has to deal with something else in the interim.
On the airport tour?
Yes. So I think it should be a half hour between candidates. That's my own opinion.
You're talking about the airport tour, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that'd be okay.
What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, either way, I mean, I'm not sure how, we
Better to
can
have-
make it work either way if
Right.
there's some
I
other
just think it's
time
better to have more
constraints.
time than not enough. So,
Yeah.
just a thought.
Okay.
I had a question, Doug, this is Art.
Eric?
Hi, I'm wondering, before we get narrowed down to the 4 candidates, would we be aware of a greater list, or is it just going to be those 4 candidates that you present to us?
No, we're going to have before that, we're going to have a meeting with the commission to go through to create the short list.
Yeah, right, that's right, I recall that discussion from last time. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if we were going to hit upon that time frame as well, or if we were just looking at this one.
No, we're going to maintain that time frame. That's an important meeting. That's where we're going to get down to a 6 or a 7 list. I guess you might say at that point in time we'll have half the tools in the toolbox, and we will be providing that information to all of you with regards to the resumes and the answers to the questions and the summary reports on the telephone interviews, the assessments that we've done at that point in time, and then that information will be at hand for all of us to look at. We will be making a recommendation for the short list and asking for your concurrence in that meeting. And certainly, as we move from the early stages of this process where it's very tactical and technical in nature, and we're not, now we're moving into the subjective part of that process. And so somebody on the commission may have a disagreement with one of our selections, for example, and we'll be all prepared to talk about that. And
You may decide to bring in someone else that's not recommended on our list. That's a possibility as well.
It certainly happened before.
Yeah.
So by and large, you'll have, that will be, going to the short list will be a most important session for all of us. Then we're not doing in-person interviews because we're doing the assessment center instead. I think the first time I was with you folks, we talked about in-person interviews, but doing in-person interviews in the assessment center seems to be a doubling up of an exercise, and we also are aiming at that April 30th time frame to have this thing completed. So, but there will be an additional assessment, and there will be reference checking done, along with, of course, the assessment center. It will be a big tool in the toolbox that will be available to us, and then you'll be doing the interviews on that last day. So it's kind of like it's two major steps in the process from this point forward.
Great, thanks. And I just don't happen to have the calendar that from our last meeting with me here tonight. What was the date, or do you have it with you that we were anticipating the first round?
Well, we're going to have this, what we call it, our working list or long list. As soon as this thing closes, we'll be doing that. Basically speaking, we have on that long list, we'll be going through it on what we call our requirements analysis based on the job description and the things that we decided collectively that this person needs to have to be your next airport director. That basically we'll be providing that to you shortly after this.
It's March the 9th, actually.
March 9th?
Yeah, Friday, March 9th is when you'll have that list in hand of these candidates and the recommended list.
Okay.
The idea was we would meet on the following Tuesday.
Right.
In executive session to work through that list with the ADK.
Thank you.
And then the second one, what's the date for the short list?
I'm just going to correct that, March 9th. I have March 13th on my list.
March 13th is the committee.
That's your commission
That's
meeting.
the commission meeting.
Commission meeting,
Yes,
yes.
but we'll have the list to you on the 9th.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
And then the important, I mean, they're all important. All meetings of the commission are important, but the next session after that, when we're talking about the short list, that will be on the 3rd of April.
So we'll have
Tuesday.
have a special meeting that day. Okay.
And that will be a meeting where one of us will be with you there to go through the
can be
process that
can be-
has happened so far and to interpret, help interpret the assessment, because there'll be one of the major assessments done at that point. And then once we get to that short list, then we'll move on into reference checking and an additional our kind of coup de grace assessment, so to speak, the EQI, and aiming towards selecting those 4 people that will be invited to come for the assessment center / interview process.
Where do we do the public interview where the public is invited?
I presume here.
No, where? When? I'm sorry, when? Which-
That would be on the 3rd day of the weekend.
Okay.
Patriots Day weekend.
That's on, however you look at these dates.
Yeah, I said it's the 3rd day of the weekend, whatever.
There you go, you got it.
Right. Okay.
Basically, we think tours, assessment center, and interviews, and that's the That's for 3 days while there'll be activity going on.
Okay,
All right.
And the 4th day was actually the day that they'll be need to coming in. So if we're going to do tours on Saturday, then they're going to need to arrive on Friday. If we do tours on Sunday, they'll need to arrive on Saturday.
And we could have leeway, I suppose, for one to get here on the morning on Saturday, if needs be.
We could, if they're, depending on where they're coming from. If they're coming from, if there's somebody coming from the West Coast, they're going to have to leave on Friday anyway.
Right, exactly.
They're not going to make it.
Right.
So we'll have a little latitude in there. If there's somebody close by that can, make it in a couple hours, tell them they don't need to come in on Friday if they don't want to. They can come in on Saturday. And we could put them in the end of the queue, for example, for the airport tour, and not at the front end. So.
sure. Okay.
All right.
Very helpful.
Any other questions? Carl?
From a schedule point of view, you were wondering about conflict. I'm out of pocket on the Saturdays of that weekend.
Okay, but that, it could go forward, right, without, if it's the tours and so
Oh,
forth.
yeah, I don't have to be there. This isn't-
I think I said this the last time, and Doug, you might want to jump in here, but one of the things we talked about earlier today was having a commissioner on the tour, or a member of the search committee. But if it's, their feeling is in any sort of one-on-one session with a candidate, whoever is there has to be on with all the candidates. Otherwise, it's unfair to the other ones.
I agree, totally.
So I think probably we'll let Bill, and if he wants to find somebody else to go with him take on the tours, help him talk, that's fine, but it can't be one of us. So I think you're not being here on Saturday is
Shouldn't be an issue. I just want
shouldn't be
to
an issue.
make sure it's on the table.
Yes, thank you for that. But everybody's here Monday.
Yes.
Good.
All right, now let's talk about whether we want to do it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Frankly, the reason, David, I suggested that we do it, and everybody who works, it is a holiday on Monday. Some work, some don't, but at least the opportunity to take the day off to do the interviews and have the meeting at the end of the day seemed to me to make sense.
Yeah, it's helpful for me.
It's fine, either day's fine with me.
Yeah.
All right, let's plan to do it Saturday, Sunday, Monday then.
Okay.
Now, the one question is, can we have a commission meeting on a legal holiday? To get the report from the assessment center. Or actually, though, if it's a search, well, even then, it has to be a public, no, that's not a public meeting. That's an executive session meeting. I don't know, we'll have to find that out.
Only a state holiday.
But your
I know,
meeting,
but it's
in that
still-
regard, you're meeting on Sunday afternoon.
Tuesday afternoon, Monday afternoon.
Monday.
Well, Monday is.
Oh, I'm
your-
sorry, you're right, it would be, well, I better check on that, too. I assume
You
it's
would have a meeting
Sunday afternoon.
on Sunday afternoon to hear the assessor's comments about the assessment center.
Right.
Now, whether that meeting is a public meeting or not.
No, that would not be a public meeting.
Okay. 'Cause you're not making any decisions, you're just listening
That's right.
to input from assessors. And then you're
Correct.
going to go into your public meeting on Monday for interviews. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. From our standpoint, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay,
So,
well, let me just make sure we don't have a legal issue, but
Okay.
I don't think we do. Anything else?
Yeah.
All right, I think we made some good progress. Do you have,
Any other questions on the process, or we're good to go, Dan?
Mr. Gasparo has a question.
Just one question, just in general, how's it going so far, in your opinion, and how's the response been?
Response has been not as fantastic as we would like. We've had pushback on the cost of living scenario.
We know
We have
that.
had questions. People have gone in and done archive retrieval on things in the past and wanted to know if one of the articles talked about the extra money that Al got as a housing stipend, that others just called it extra something, and wanted to know if that was available, and I said, no, it's not. And so we've had some concerns, I guess you could say, about, the salary versus the cost of living.
We do think we have some very good candidates. We're not really long in the tooth on candidates But I think the whole thing with the housing situation there that people see on the web is very concerning to some of them. So we don't know who might be interested out there in the position, but has not applied or asked questions. That's the problem. We don't know about those individuals, but we do have some good candidates. So I feel good about that. And frankly, we'll be getting more candidates over this weekend. We just got two more this morning. People, unfortunately, it's that human nature thing, wait till the last to submit. So we'll be getting more applicants.
Isn't that a strike against them in the assessment process?
Well, you know what? We talked about doing that a couple of years ago because from our standpoint, the person that waits to the very last minute, got me concerned a little bit. But nevertheless, that's just the way it is. Especially when you have in this particular case, this thing is expiring on Monday, so they have the entire weekend.
Right.
The other thing that we have found too is that some candidates, they work on their application and they're working on their answers to the questions and all of that, and they kind of put them aside and wait and review them again before, rather than doing it all at once and sending it in. If we see a pattern of every single thing is at the last minute, if they are waiting until the 11th hour to do their assessments and all that, certainly we will make note of that and let you know about it. That if it's, it's typically, I'd say, probably 2/3 of the candidates come within the last week of the whole process of applying, and half of those come in on the last couple of days. So,
Yeah.
What Doug told me this morning, or earlier this afternoon, was they have enough candidates for the assessments, good candidates for the assessment.
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we do.
There's no doubt.
Great.
Okay. We've got to work on location for all this and various other things, but I think we can do that separately.
Yeah.
And we can have a comment after your commission meeting or tomorrow, Dan, specifically about the numbers of assessors and that sort of thing.
Yeah, why don't you comment on that now?
Okay. We're going to need about 9 assessors.
But don't you need a role player? And
Well, we need a role player, and we can use one of the assessors for that. We've got 3 people in our company. We got role players in our company as well that can do that. So if you got 12, that would be great. We can get by with 9.
Well, I'd like to get a couple of extra just to have them in the pocket
that'd
anyway.
be great.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
That'd be great. We've got some good role players in our group, and
You want at least 2 observers.
Right.
Whatever scenario is.
And
set up.
3, I would prefer 3, frankly.
Yeah.
well, and then usually what we would like to see is, if there's, for example, one of the role plays will be a board presentation. Most likely, we would suggest it be done, we'll talk about this, Dan, about specifics, but be done around something like a budget presentation. You've been on board for 2 months, and here are the parameters, and we got some issues with the airlines, that sort of thing, and give them the opportunity to prepare a presentation before they come. Let them decide how they want to present it, whether it's going to be done by PowerPoint or handouts, that sort of thing. That's their choice. We don't tell them what to do. The second role play is a one-on-one, which would be a situation where, again, the person is new on board, there's an issue with an individual, hasn't been performing. How does one handle that and come up with situations to solve that problem, move forward in the scenario. And each, the role player gets a different set of input than, of course, the candidate coming in, and then we define what competencies we're looking for the assessors. And then the third will be an in-line.
Can we use a real live case as the role player?
You can if you like. That would be your choice. It's been done. I will tell you that it's been done that way a lot before, where the issues were not just fabricated issues, but they were real issues.
No, I don't. I think that's a little dangerous.
It depends on what the situation is. I agree with you. And then the third will be what's called an inbox exercise. They will some people in the old assessment process used to call it
Yeah, you went, actually, Doug, you went through it at the beginning of this discussion, so I don't think we need to go again.
did I?
Yeah,
Okay, well, good.
all right. Thanks.
But you know, there's at least, there's no real role play in that inbox exercise. Basically, they'll come in, and every assessor will be, you know, they'll just be receiving the presentation.
But in the case of the personnel one, for example, the person who's playing the role can also be an assessor.
It can be, that
Yeah.
is correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
That is correct.
All right. Okay. Very good.
That's it.
All right, well, thank you.
Any other?
I don't think so. If I have any feedback for you later, I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you both very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that's encouraging that they are,
So one of the things we're going to have to figure out is where we do this. Now, with the candidates knowing each other, it's better. But, you know, there aren't many places on this island that have breakout rooms and that kind of thing. So I had, you know, I had two ideas, and I think I'll work with Bill and Janine on this, but maybe the Nantucket Inn, maybe we get a deal there and put everybody up there, and, you know, it has its pros and cons, but it's, the town also has deals at the JC, so we'll see, but what we can work out. Or someplace like the new school, you know, whether they let us into their building to do this. And, you know, we've just got to find enough, you know, we've got to have the 3 assessment rooms plus at least 1 and probably 2 other rooms, one for the candidates and 1 for the assessors.
Maybe
So
ask Libby last time when they
Yeah,
did it.
that's what I was gonna say.
Where they did it.
she told me, and it was not, the way it didn't, I can't remember now what she said, but my initial reaction was it didn't work very well. That's the way I thought it
We
sounded.
have a couple extra rooms in this building too, though, right?
Yeah, but here, there's not quite enough. So-
You got the school,
Well,
maybe.
unless we could put the candidates in the cells. In between. All right. The other thing we talked about and haven't done anything about at this point is having a search committee that consists of the commission, somebody from the town, and a community member. And what,
to make the final decision?
to be the search committee.
The
So
search
they
committee,
would, those people would participate in the meeting on April 3rd, and, whatever the dates are, the March 13th and April 3rd meeting as well. So we need to get on this. And my thought was to put an ad in next week's paper and just ask people, and it's just be in there once, but at least people will be back from vacation. And we can put it on the website too. To get their applications in by the following, except that is March 13th, isn't it?
You could just recruit a only tenant in the thing here.
One thought,
Yeah.
I mean, now that we've actually gone with the search process, and we're going through all of this, do we really need the separate search committee? And the other thing that we have to decide is how we're gonna pick the assessors,
Right,
So we've got-
that's the next thing.
the next step. So we've got 2 things, and do we wanna have to do both? I mean, I would think with the professionals that we've hired, that maybe an additional committee, that might have been a route had we not gone with an executive search committee.
Yeah, I think that's a good
And then
point.
with the timing especially, to try to figure out, and the problem, of course, then becomes if you don't do it on some kind of very public, open advertising process, and you just pick somebody else may feel slighted, or that it was,
I just realized that we're backing up against the 13th.
right. My thought is that maybe an additional committee may not be required.
What we might do is invite, I don't know whether we want to or not, just, invite people to sit in on those discussions, in the executive session discussions, not necessarily community members at large, but people from the town, whether it be the personnel director or the town manager or whoever, talk about that, to sit in on those meetings.
I think having the personnel director might be helpful, sitting in.
Right.
Again, just as sitting in.
And if the others want to come, I don't think we can exclude them. But that's fine. I think we should rescind our vote to have a search committee with people from off the commission, if that's what we need. David, do you have a thought?
Well, and because by selecting these assessors, are going to be representatives of the community as well.
That's right.
So we are, in fact, making it a public, open process.
And one step further, I really liked what I heard from Doug about the community meet and greet that's gonna happen as part of
Yeah.
this as well, so that the public doesn't feel that we're operating in some kind of a vacuum making this decision. They would actually be able to come and meet these folks, and then if any of them had any particular concerns about any one of them, you would hope that somebody may privately bring it to, you know, somebody, or however that might go, but at least it's as transparent and public, I think, as could be by hosting that.
We'll hold that at the airport, I would assume, correct? Probably in the terminal after everyone,
It would make a lot of sense.
kind of like when we did the grand opening. I mean,
That's a good idea. I think we have to have refreshments of some kind.
he said something about snacks, well, I guess it would be something catered or something, hors d'oeuvres. I don't know if the restaurant can do something like that, or we'd have to put that out, or...
Well, let's come back to that. We don't have to decide that right now. So, if somebody would like to make, I will entertain a motion to rescind our earlier motion of whatever date it was, to create a search committee that consisted of the commission and a representative of the town and a representative of the community, and just have the committee, the commission sit as the search committee.
I'll make that motion. Do I need to repeat it?
I'll second.
No, you don't need to repeat it.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do think it is a good idea, like you mentioned, to maybe invite town manager, human resources person.
Yeah.
Okay. With your permission, I will do that. And maybe the chair of the Board of Selectmen. Or Whitey, who is technically the liaison for the commission. Okay, liaisons, not liaisons, assessors. I think we need to come up with a list. I have actually already suggested it to somebody who said she would be happy to do it, and that's Judy Lee, who was the chair of the search committee for the new superintendent of schools. I thought that would be the type of person that we'd like to see, somebody who's had some experience in interviewing.
I know her, I think she'd be good.
And so I think what we should do before the next meeting is come up with our own list of suggestions of people that we think would be good at this process, obviously, in evaluating people and try to put together a list of perhaps 12 that we think would be good.
You want us to all try to come up with a couple names and
Yes.
provide it all to you? Or?
Yeah. Well, we'll put them on the table.
Yeah.
We'll just need to, Janine, if you would make a note to send out when the packet goes out, to just remind people to bring their names
Sure.
for the discussion. It could be other town, it could be the police chief, it could be other town officials. It should be somebody who's had I would hope we could get enough people who've had some experience in hiring and managing people to
Right.
get some useful input out of it.
And we probably should let them know if we're going to suggest their names, because
We'll have to call them and ask them, but I think
there's a time, because there is a time commitment on there.
there's a time commitment clearly.
Maybe if we could get the time commitment in advance, or is it for that weekend?
Well, that's, for them, it's the Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
Sunday and Monday afternoon
Uh-huh.
for an hour or so.
Okay.
But it's Sunday basically all day.
Okay, well, that's good enough, to at least some suggestion.
Is that Sunday?
Just to let you know, that's school vacation week again, too.
Yes, you're right, the 15th is Sunday. Tax day is Tuesday because of Patriots' Day. All right, good. Anything else on the recruiting, the new manager? Anybody?
No, I think it's going well.
Yeah.
All right, next, declaration of surplus property of 143 Old South Road. We have in front of us an appraisal, or a declaration. We had the appraisal before. This, as you know, is the UPS property that we have to put out for bids. And we're talking an appraised price of 76 cents per square foot, down from 80 at its peak, or maybe 82. Yeah, 80. Is there a motion to declare the UPS lot, 143 Old South Road, as surplus property?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Further discussion? Comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Ace Camp. The question is whether we want to do it. Janine, I would love to hear from you as to whether you think this is something we should...
I'll come right out and say it. I think we should skip a year.
Why?
I think it's going to be a very busy summer, beginning of our summer.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that on the... Yeah. Okay, sorry.
I think with the possibility of a new manager coming in around that time, and we would definitely have to go out and get prices for a coordinator if someone's not going to do it in-house. I personally would prefer to not have it on my plate this summer.
Bill, do you have a...
Yes, Ginny and I talked about it this afternoon. I was just trying to get a little bit of history. I wasn't actually aware of how much time and effort and coordination and participation it takes. And it's quite a bit of work. And I tend to agree that just with everything else that's going on, I think it might, we talked a little bit, what would that mean if we did skip a year? Is it, obviously it would affect some individuals who were hoping for it, but I think we could pick it up and probably do a much better job, the following year. We'd have, have things settled down, new manager in place. And I tend to agree. It's just the timing's tough. Keeping in mind it's normally done, and already we're a little bit late. We're at the point now where it's normally done the end of June. We have some issues with, with procurement as far as, services of someone to coordinate it. Again, I hate to, in a way, we'd love to do it because it's a good program and it's a nice thing for the community and for aviation, but I agree with Janine. We did talk about it. I think it would make sense to postpone it and do it up and do it well the following year.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
No, I just want to bring up one thing. I agree. I think it is a little short notice in it with a new manager coming in. I think it could put a lot on the new manager's plate. But at some point, I'd like to go back and revisit doing something for the community like Airport Day or something, that would involve the children. They could come out and see the aircrafts and maybe some sightseeing flights or something. June may not be the right time, but when things settle down.
Yeah, and I agree. Maybe just where that, in my mind, is something that's really nice for the local community. Maybe we could think of doing something like maybe between Labor Day and Columbus Day. Settles down a little bit. The weather's still pretty nice. Could be a good time to do that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and the new manager would be on board and
Have some time.
be able to organize it, help organize it.
So I do think the community likes the airport events.
Right.
Yeah. And it's great for the
It's great for the families, too.
And it's great for the airport, have some exposure, and that's all good.
A little good PR doesn't hurt.
No, it certainly doesn't. I don't think we need to take a vote on this. I think we have a sense of where we are, and we will put it on the agenda for sometime next winter to discuss again for the summer of 2013. Contracts and leases. Do we have a Jacobs contract? No? Okay.
No, it's in legal's hands right now. They had some comments on some of the wording in the lease, in the contract.
All right, Mr. McGrath, I think you better excuse yourself from the table while we talk about the Island Airlines lease. Having said that, what do you think of it?
As a member of the community, you can speak.
Janine, do you have anything to?
This is just the standard yearly lease. The Island Airlines was the first to return theirs for this coming summer, and it's basically set to the fee structure that the commission set back in December.
Just one comment with respect to, bring to your attention, item 12, with compliance with airport and regulatory rules. And I'm just wondering how that ties together with our noise abatement program. Now, this is the first, after I've requested this several times over the last few years, but this is the first time I've ever actually seen the whole lease and not just one page. I'm fine with this. I'm not in any way opposed, but it's just, again, wondering as we're moving forward, and I've seen that we have had good compliance, that we should keep this number 12 in mind, should we find that compliance with the, with the routes starts to deviate. And I'm wondering if that, in fact, with those being a voluntary system, but it says, rules and any airport standards of operations and procedures as adopted by us. I think it's just another tool in our toolbox. If
It does say required, which I find interesting, because I'm not sure we can require that.
Right, because it's all,
Well, where I think that maybe you can is but through their acceptance of this lease. In other words, both
I don't know.
parties are
I don't know.
agreeing to this. I don't think we have to go on and on about it today, but I just thought it was worth a brief mention.
I think your point is very well taken.
It's very well written out in the next page, that about noise abatement and everything else.
150 and, right.
Anything else?
No.
If hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion to approve the lease with Island Airlines.
I'd make that motion.
second?
Just a minute. This says, I just noticed, it says starting 6/1/12, ending 6/30/12.
It's considered a month-to-month on the airlines leases.
Okay.
Discussion?
Yes.
Has town council seen this?
New town council has not, this old town council has.
Is there any rush to get this done? Is this something that, we are having meetings?
Wait till next year.
What's that?
Wait till next year.
It's
I'm
already
not
been sent,
encouraging.
this has been sent to all the airlines already, correct?
It has.
Yeah.
Would you be agreeable to that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a good point.
So every month they're gonna have to come back and we're gonna do this every single month?
no.
You'll see the term near the signature line, David. It says it can renew
12.
up to a total of 12 months
Okay.
automatically.
Well, I can make a motion that, going further in the future, next year, that we have new town council review the present leases that we're using for the airlines.
Frankly, they should be reviewing all of our.
That's why I
Yeah.
brought it up, yeah. I was,
Okay. I don't think you need to make that motion. Let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Make it part of policy.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this lease with Island Airlines?
Well, yeah, I think that it's already been made and
Yes.
Was it?
seconded.
I'm sorry.
Seconded.
It was made and seconded. Is there
Right.
any further discussion?
No?
Those in
No.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. You may return, Mr. McGrath.